Good morning. I'm Martha Nisley. My pronouns are she, her. I encourage you to listen to our opening words with beginner's mind. Challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice. Welcome to all of you on the live stream and in person. We're pleased to have guests with us in this room and participating virtually. Following the service, you're invited to join us in Freeman Hall across from the sanctuary for a coffee and conversation. If you're new and want to learn more about this congregation, I encourage you to reach out to Kelly Green. Her email is on the screen. She's the Director of Member Relations. We have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There's also a hearing loop in our alternate worship space, the Bernstein Room, which is located downstairs. If you or your family feel a need to move or be more active, you may be more comfortable watching and listening to the service in this alternate space. We have coloring pages and fidgets for all ages in the vestibule if that's useful to you or your children. Nursery care is also available for children under 6. We have a few announcements for our children. We have something called Camp 234. The Spirit of Science starts today at 10 o'clock on the playground, 2, with Science of Language. Meet the Minister will be held at 11:30 today downstairs in the conference room. More information about these opportunities can be found in your order of service, in our weekly e-newsletter, currents, or on the website. Again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you, whether you're here in person or joining via live stream, whether today is your first or your 1,000th Sunday in our midst. We're stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, origins, identities, and genders. We're all growing, all learning, all loved. It is good to be together.
Good morning, and welcome. Welcome to this time of sacred connection and meaning making, this sacred hour in which we weave head and heart and spirit, this time of presence and co-creation. I'm Reverend Amanda, and what a joy it is to gather together once more. And as the famous 90s R&B song goes, so now we've come to the end of the road. The last Sunday in June, my last Sunday before my annual time off throughout July, and our last Sunday with our annual theme, Under Construction. But of course, where one road ends, another begins, and we never really stop going here. Throughout the upcoming month, we'll continue on just like we always do. We'll have a mix of lay-led services in July. We'll have our regular Community Sunday, and we'll even welcome Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson as our guest preacher near the end of the month. So if you're in town and you're here, just know that you always have a place to come on Sunday mornings. So we gather once more in joy and sorrow, in witness and in the fullness of who we are and who we are becoming still. And so we light our chalice this morning for that sacred spirit of life that weaves through it all, that connects us and grounds us and reminds us that the journey never really ends, and that sometimes we journey so far that we find ourselves right back at the beginning. So come, let us worship together. And in that spirit, I invite you to rise and by your spirit to turn and greet your neighbor.
I saw a sign recently at a pop-up protest that pretty much summed up my feelings. It said, "Are we great yet? Because I'm just embarrassed." During our recent travels abroad in May, I worried about how we would be viewed as Americans. I felt shame about our country's reckless, destructive decisions at home and internationally, our involvement in a senseless war. David White, poet and philosopher, takes on the topic of shame in his latest book of Consolations. He says, "Shame outlines exactly the ways we feel inadequate and unequal to life and exactly the nature and place of our hiding. Shame provides us generously and on a daily basis with the invitation to understand all the ways we do not wish or do not deserve to be seen, to be touched, or to be invited to join the extraordinary dance of the world. Shame tells us instantly all the ways we desire to meet but dare not meet, all the ways we are desperate to play but do not play, all the ways we desire to sing but do not sing. Shame tells us all the ways we long for real change but do not feel worthy of the transformation that change brings, and all the ways we deeply desire to be enlivened or to feel pleasure in the extraordinary miracle nature of creation. Shame instructs us in all the ways we feel we do not deserve to be here. But White goes on to say that shame thrives in hiding, and in that hiding, we learn to know what we're fearful of, what we are afraid of showing, what we keep from the world. We learn self-compassion. So I attempted to make a different choice during our trip. I tried to be in the moment and to open myself up to interacting with people. A local person would mention our so-called leader, and we would all roll our eyes with some common understanding that we do not represent our politicians. And more often than not, our new friends would nod and admit that they have their own problems too. And we would learn that they were still grieving from recent wars on their own land. What these folks are not seeing in their news about us are the times when we show up as observers of public Board of Elections meetings and as protectors of clients at health clinics and immigrants striving for a better life. They're not seeing all the daily pop-up protests on our street corners and over bridges and the larger organized marches in rural and urban towns. So I'm looking for small victories these days, some kindnesses paid toward strangers, a common understanding that we're in this together and we all deserve to be here. I can be proud of that. Please stay seated for our next hymn.
An Algerian man experiences a Waffle House for the first time in Kansas City and is amazed by sweet tea refills. Over in Dallas, Texas, an English visitor strolls into a Costco and stands in amazement and wonder at the sheer possibility of selection. Further up north in Boston, a kilted Scotsman slides down a cop slide while playing the bagpipes. Haitian and Brazilian tourist cheers a mug of beer in a Philly pub, while a South African is in awe of Atlanta. The big American sleepover. It's what some are calling the 2026 World Cup. Now, some of us may not have even known that the World Cup was going to be held here in the States. I know I certainly didn't, but then again, I wouldn't know that. But what none of us anticipated was the cultural reset that this has become. You know, there's not a lot of good press about us lately in the world, you know what I mean? And it's hard for us too, because so much of what is happening on the world stage doesn't really represent who we actually are. It doesn't represent the compassion, the empathy, the humanity that so many of us possess. And because of the constant stream of the worst and the harshest of political opinions and assessments, we often only see the worst and the worst from each other. We forget ourselves. We forget that life exists beyond blue and red, that we all have these precious lives, and that we are all worth fighting for. And sometimes you need something outside of yourself to remind you of that. We needed this reflection of ourselves. We needed this global mirror of sorts to reflect to us who we are at the heart of it all. Our food, our regional dialects, our cultural practices, our hospitality, our charm, the music, the history, the art, the diversity. These are our natural resources, our goods and services. This is our currency. And the fact that we, the people, have created this constellation of beauty, even in the midst of oppression, systemic injustice, endless war, bigotry, and state-sanctioned violence, is perhaps the greatest testament to the tenacity of the American spirit. That when we are told that the other is dangerous, or that that person over there is unworthy of respect and dignity, when we are told that that's just the way things are, that when we are put into tiny boxes with these strict labels, that our faithful response time and again has been to draw the circle wider. To, as Adrienne Marie Brown would say, grow our dreams beyond the edge of our imagination. So there's this practice in Zen Buddhism that you draw a circle in one single brushstroke. And the practice of it is to allow the circle to be large and unfinished, to embrace the imperfections and the rough edges of it. This single stroke, unfinished circle is called an enso. And the focus of an enso is not the well-constructed line, it's not the perfect border, but it's the break in it. It's that space that's left open between the two ends of the circle that don't, won't, and can never meet. And its whole purpose is to embrace never having a finished product. And that's a true spiritual practice, because that's one of the dangers of this human experience. Thinking that if we can find the right formula or the best process, if we can master our environment and find all of the answers, that we too can be unfinished. But we know that that's a trap. Because let's say that we find it. Let's say that we create the perfect system where everyone is not only satisfied, but they're happy, where every right is wrong and every wrong is right, where no one makes any mistakes or messes up. Let's say that we get there. Let's say that we find utopia. Then what? How much energy have we expended in our communities and our institutions? How much time have we spent arguing about the best way, about the right way? How many times have we pushed one another out, shut one another down because they're not doing it how it should be done? And meanwhile, we miss the entire point. And we become so busy trying to perfect life that we let it pass us right by. But the INSO teaches us that life happens in that space between, in the brokenness, in the roughness, in those unfinished parts. We've been toying around with that central question all year. What if things never got better? Well, let's flip that. What if they did in fact get better? Then what? Would we suddenly become the people we always hoped to be? Would we suddenly have the communities that we always dreamed of having? What if our personal utopia came to life? Would we even be able to inhabit it? Under construction. You know, I don't think I'll ever be able to hear those words again and not think of us and this year of exploration. And the point was never to metaphorically build something new and better and stronger. The goal was never to improve. It was to embrace being unfinished on purpose. So when I was house hunting, my realtor really wanted me to get into a new construction home, but I wanted something older, something with a little more soul, a little character, something already finished with an established neighborhood, a yard, and trees. Because I love trees. I even have a tree tattooed on me. And I was so happy to have this backyard with all these trees until I realized that 2 of them were dying at the top and branches were falling. Until I realized that those 2 trees had to come down. Oh, I was so happy to have my beloved trees until I learned how much trees cost to get taken down. But as painful as that sticker shock was, something beautiful happened when those trees came down. The sunlight was able to come through. The grass grew back where there had been none before, and the space opened up to new possibilities, new life. And now with all this sunlight and space and possibility, I've realized that the fence needs to be repaired. And the HVAC was acting weird last week, and there's some weird hold in the shed, and I don't even know what that's about. There's a wall that needs to be painted, and so forth and so on. New construction or old home, and either way, it remains unfinished. And what a blessing it is to be unfinished, because it teaches us 2 things that are just different sides of the same coin. First, that we don't know everything, that we have not experienced all there is to this life, that no matter how much we've lived, no matter how much we've gone through, there is still more to know, and even more that we can never really know. And on the other side of that coin, that we can still be surprised. That this life, this world, these people in it can still surprise us, that we can surprise ourselves. I've been pleasantly and joyfully surprised by the phenomenon of this year's World Cup. I have. Oh, in 2026, it's beyond understandable for any of us to have a little chip on our shoulder. We've been let down and disappointed. We've been disappointed by people we know, by people in our lives. We have communities that have been disillusioned and disenfranchised. We have leaders that we can't seem to trust. Our systems have been failing those of us at the margins forever, but now even those of privilege are feeling it. And we have reason to, at the very least, question the humanity that surrounds us. But then, But then we see firsthand accounts of these foreign visitors, people of all colors and nationalities, of all tongues and all nations, sharing their stories and experiences of what it's been like for them to be here. And these stories are good. They're actually good. I mean, we had Saudi Arabians dancing in the streets of Houston, Texas in their full cultural garb, and the Texans were cheering them on and dancing with them. We had Japanese folks singing karaoke in Dallas, and the crowd was hyping them up like, what is going on? In the best way. And I am genuinely, blessedly surprised. It's good to be reminded that although we can forecast the weather, we can't predict the future. And at the same time, it's not all that surprising, because this is who we have always been. A tapestry woven together by grit and labor and language and culture that's come from all over the globe. And even those of us who had our culture stolen from us managed still somehow to save pieces of it, stitch it back together, and create something entirely new and unique. And we've all done this over and over and over again for 250 years. And we've had to face grim realities along the way. We've had to reconcile societal evils. But each time we were willing to do that, each time we were willing to risk change, we transformed. We found ourselves, and each time we looked at ourselves, truly looked at ourselves, we in turn found each other. So today marks the 57th anniversary of the riots at Stonewall Inn, where a small group of courageous people rose up in resistance to the degradation and the violence that had continuously been inflicted on their community. And this was a pivotal moment in U.S. history and in LGBTQIA history alike. And while the very first Stonewall riot was in response to police brutality, the ensuing protest of those days and weeks to follow became about so much more. The Stonewall Rebellion expanded the circle of what we think of as family and love and partnership. But even more than that, it grew into a movement that sought rights and protections in the areas of healthcare, AIDS research, homelessness advocacy, advocacy for queer youth, and this movement expands to this day. It weaves and overlaps and coincides with other movements of our time, like the movement for Black lives, disability justice and advocacy, education, economic inequality, and so much more. We looked at ourselves and we found each other. This is who we have always been. We've always dreamed beyond the edge, drawing the circle wider, transforming ourselves, and therefore transforming one another. When we started with our exploration of the theme under construction, we began with the blueprint. And blueprints are great and important, but they're limited. Because even with all the precise planning and measurements and charting, what we build will take on a life of its own beyond our understanding and out of reach of our predictions. And then so we moved into the builders. We explored the great unfinished cathedral of the Sagrada La Familia in Barcelona that's been under construction for over 100 years. We reached beyond the veil to our ancestors, and we found doors upon doors upon doors opening to only more doors. Then in December, we began to lay our foundation by embracing the longest night and letting the light take its shape in the darkness. And then the new year came and the opportunity for interior design. We explored pluralism, and despite a couple of snow days, we tapped into how we wanted our space to look once we were ready to move in. So in February, we crossed the threshold and we went all in our new home. In March, we took on home improvement projects and some good old-fashioned DIY because it is in our hands after all. And those same hands got a little dirty when April came around and we needed to plant some seeds. Now, I may have lost my voice on Easter Sunday, but it was all good, just in time to make our house a home in May. And now here we are in June, full circle, and right back to the beginning once more. Back to the blueprint, back to the questions that don't and never will have answers, back to the crossroads where mystery meets revelation, where we meet ourselves yet again. But we're different. We're not the same people who broke ground on our construction last fall. We're not the same people who screamed into the void in the winter. We're not even the same people who planted seeds in the spring, because it was never about what we were doing. It's how we were doing it. It's that we were doing it. That we were willing to build in a world that was broken, that we were willing to gather even when it would have been easier to stay apart, that we turned toward one another when we could have just looked away. And it matters. It matters in this world. And still, we remain blessedly unfinished. And so maybe that's the practice that we carry forward. Beyond all the metaphors and illustrations and words, perhaps the one thing that we can hold to from this year is that we are not done. We don't know everything, and we can still be surprised. And that the work that we've done this year, it has put things into motion that we can't even begin to know, a great unfolding, woven together by spirit, held by tenacity, and co-created by each of us. And so what do we do with this? We savor it. We embrace this gift of life, the joy and sorrow and pain and hope, and we live. We live. We live. So I'll end this month, this theme, this year, with this reading from Adrienne Marie Brown. There is an edge beyond which we cannot grasp the scale of our universe. That border, that outer boundary is imagination. The only known edge of existence, the only one we can prove by universal experience. We can imagine so much. We can only imagine so much. If perhaps it is a function of our collective minds, a dream of our endless nights, then there will be abundance so long as we can imagine it. Abundance on earth if we can imagine it, or abundance of earths. A sphere for every tribe and every combination. And to have it all we need is to remember there is an edge, and to grow our dreams beyond it. Love upon love, gratitude upon gratitude. Blessed be, and Ashe.
Generosity is at the center of our mission and vision, and it's through generosity that we live our values out loud. What we give allows us to sustain the work of this congregation within and beyond these four walls. When we gather each week, let it be with this very spirit of generosity and gratitude, recognizing the blessing that it is to carry the work forward together. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is Democracy NC. This North Carolina organization works to strengthen democratic structures, build power among disenfranchised communities, and inspire confidence in a transformed political process that works for all. There are many ways to give to our shared offering. You can text to give at 73256, or you can give directly online. You can also scan the QR code and give us as the basket comes your way. With gratitude for all the ways that we give, for those who pledge to make this ongoing work possible, for those who give in the moments when it counts the most, and for those who give from their hearts, we build this community together. While the offering is collected, you're invited to come forward and light a candle, honoring a milestone, concern, or celebration. Ushers, you may come forward to receive the offering. Thank you.
As always, when we gather, we bring a host of joys and concerns on our hearts and in our lives. And when we gather in this space, we do so knowing that we don't need to leave it all behind, but that we can expand the circle to make room for it all. This morning, we send our love to Tom Cole and his family, as Tom is now at home recovering from a recent hospital stay. Also this morning, we lift up so many lives that are impacted by the earthquakes in Venezuela. There are numerous teams and organized rescue efforts that are hard at work, doing everything that they can. We hold these communities of people with tremendous love, knowing that the road to recovery will be long. So we light our candle of world concern this morning for all of those lives lost and those who are still waiting to be found, for the medics and the first responders, for those working nonstop, and for those who will rebuild. Won't you please join me in a moment of silence? I now invite you to settle into your space, to root down and connect, joining me in a moment of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, perhaps closing your eyes or lowering your gaze. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, the unfinished Spirit that weaves and roams and connects and grounds. We call that Spirit into this presence on this day, into this space of co-creation and becoming and revelation and returning to the home of our soul. We carry so much when we gather each week. We come with lives that are full and busy and complex and wonderful and hard and challenging and lovely. We come as full people, not seeking perfection, knowing we will never be finished, but we gather still. We gather of our own volition, our own free will, in our search for truth and meaning. What a blessing that is. What a privilege it is to gather freely. We come with so much gratitude for a year of learning and exploration, a year of transformation and growth and opportunity and learning, even in the midst of hardship, of loss, of challenge. And through it all, we've continued to face each other. What a joy it is. What a joy it is to be in community. In the days and weeks and months ahead, may we hold this chalice, this flame in our hearts. May we carry it with us in our lives, in our own communities. And may we continue to gather our spirits, to join our hearts, to join our hands. May it always be so. Ashe. and blessed be. As always, our benediction comes in the form of gratitude. Gratitude for all it takes to make Sunday mornings possible. Gratitude to our tech folks, to our greeters, our ushers, to those doing coffee service. And speaking of coffee service during coffee hour, the humanist group will be putting on a presentation at noon. You're more than welcome to stick around, but know that they will be setting up for that. I got the announcement in, Steve. So, gratitude for our choir all year long. To John for our music, and to each and all of you for choosing to gather, for choosing to turn inward. So won't you please rise and bow to your spirit and join me in our closing hymn.
Our service has now ended. Please join me in reading the words on the screen. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated for our closing music.